burner today. It was a barn burner yesterday at Barn Church, and yet a great time of refreshment. How can that be? The ways of the Lord, these things are possible. It can be a barn burner and yet a barn refresher. So it was a good time yesterday with the saints and just in fellowship and testimony time. And so that was neat. But this is a new day. So in our morning manna time on this warm day, what better place to go than to the book of Job? Right in the middle, or nearly so, in Job chapter 19. And you think it's hot in Yamhill County today. I have a hunch Job would say, you guys don't know what heat even is here in the land of Uz with all I've been through. And these fellows hanging out with me, my counselors, so-called, Zophar and Eliphaz. And he just recently heard from Bildad in these middle chapters here. And in Job chapter 19, in verses 25 and 26, some call this the apex of the book, and that's a fair assessment. It could be, but it's all God's word, so it's all an apex. But it's just this tremendous insight, though after the erroneous counsel from the trio, most recently Bildad, Job responds and says, "For I know," now remember all the trauma he's been through and is going through, and it will continue on. But in the midst of it, in the midst of the heat, literally and figuratively, he says, "For I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last on the earth, and after my skin is destroyed, this I know." These things Job knows. They're not theories. He knows these things. "This I know, that in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself." Let me read that to you one more time without pause. "For this I know, that my Redeemer lives. He shall stand at last on the earth, and after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself." Job 19, 25 and 26. My Redeemer. That word Redeemer, if you've done some Old Testament study, you perhaps would guess, I think that's the word Goel. I think that's Goel. And if you thought that, you're right. So hats off, kudos to you. But also, it would perhaps jog you back to the book of Ruth and her kinsman redeemer, Boaz. But we're not talking about Ruth today, though. We could wonderfully go there right now. But I want to talk about what that word redeemer means. Just a reminder, just a refresher. There's two definitions of the word redeemer. And I was looking up that this morning in my book from a Hebrew linguist. And he was stating that in this case, you can translate it either way. Both would be absolutely correct linguistically. And the idea is, the first definition is one who restores. Think of Job. Think of Job. And these stories in the Old Testament are always pointing us to Jesus, just as the New Testament does. One who restores. My Redeemer. Job had been, for brevity's sake, we'll just say, stripped of nearly everything. But there's one who restores. One who puts back. The idea of Redeemer in that same idea means one who puts back to original condition. One who restores, one who puts back to original condition. But the secondary and equal definition is it occurs within a family or tribal or clan unit. And what it means, it maintains the continuity of family. And we're part of the family of God. Behold how good and how pleasant it is to be called the sons of God, we're told in the New Testament. And this Hebrew scholar, and I'll wind down here, we'll keep it short because it's hot outside today. But in his writing on this transliteration from Goel, he says, perhaps that is very similar on purpose in God's economy to gospel. Goel, gospel. Goel, gospel. It's interesting. Just Just conjecture that the scholar says, but isn't that interesting? The goel and the gospel. Because the secondary condition means that it returns to the continuity of family. Though Job's been stripped away, he's part of the family of God. He's not abandoned. He's not forsaken, though he may feel like it. God has him, and he's going to do good for him. God knows the big plan. But this idea, this scholar says, of Redeemer, it would be so joyous to a Hebrew reader that it smacks of, and I'm quoting there, of chains falling off, finding buried treasure, and having been delivered more good news than could ever been dreamt of. That's the gospel, the goel. We know like Job, that our Redeemer, your Redeemer, my Redeemer lives. And he shall stand at last on the earth. And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God. Goel, gospel, Maranatha.